It sounds incredibly logical for a professional athlete to try to fix the things they don't excel at in their given sport. But when you've reached high heights doing things a certain way, the process of breaking that down can be brutally difficult. A player's weaknesses tend to remain their weaknesses. Fixing things has not been that difficult for Novak Djokovic, however. Take his serve, for instance. It wasn't nearly good enough, so he made it one of the best serves in the game. Easy peasy. This episode of Acing It is presented by Stella Artois. Some of the most popular videos on the tennis internet are those super slow-mo shots of player skills. People like to watch and learn. Djokovic has racked up millions of views on videos breaking down not only his vaunted return game, but his serve as well. That's impressive for a guy who doesn't tend to appear on those rankings of top servers ever. With Djokovic, the talk is usually about all-around brilliance.
Djokovic got to everything on that point.
His superpower, though, isn't his otherworldly, almost rubber flexibility. It isn't his impossible third-lung fitness levels. It isn't his impeccable defense or the backhand that is better and more consistent than a lot of players' forehands. Okay, actually, all of those things are superpowers. There's a reason why he's the GOAT of men's tennis. But maybe his most important superpower is his pure adaptability. If a match isn't going well, he's got plans B, C, and D ready to roll.
Oh, too strong.
At one point, his fitness wasn't good enough, so he altered his diet, changed his routines, and became the fittest player on tour. His serve was mechanically flawed and inconsistent, so he simply made it mechanically perfect and increasingly consistent. Indeed, once upon a time, his serve held him back. Watch any of his serves from 2009 or earlier. His elbow angle was oddly open and stretched, which both caused injuries to his elbow and produced moments of unreliability. It was a bit of a rigid motion too. That rubber flexibility wasn't completely developed yet. In his first Grand Slam final, a straight set loss to Roger Federer in the US Open, Djokovic had more double faults than aces, landed only 53% of his first serves, and created almost no easy points for himself. The quality of his overall game, with his brilliant service return and strong defense, was such that he was still one of the best players in the world despite the serve. He forced a pair of tiebreakers in that 2007 loss to Federer, and he won the very next slam, the 2008 Australian Open. He finished as the number 3 player in the world for 4 straight years, 2007 through 2010. You don't do that if you're not outstanding. But to catch up to tennis's big two, Federer and Rafael Nadal, Djokovic had to level up. It was time to turn a flaw into a strength. He had already done it once after all, tweaking the mechanics of his forehand a couple of years earlier and turning a decent weapon into an excellent one. Djokovic hired big serving former US star Todd Martin as a coach and worked constantly on his service motion. Because tennis barely ever stops, it's hard to make mechanical changes while on tour without your results suffering, and his serve stats in particular plummeted in 2010. That year, he served aces only about 5% of the time, double faulted 5% of the time, lost to players with double-digit seeds at each of the first 3 slams, and lost 6 of 7 matches against Federer and Nadal. He remained number 3 in the world, and he did beat Federer in an epic US Open semifinal before losing to Nadal, but points-wise, he had still fallen further behind the big two. You can still unearth message board posts declaring that his moment had passed, that he was too inconsistent and unsteady, that he had peaked in 2007. Can you believe that the internet might have been jumping to conclusions a bit too early? In 2011, all the moving pieces came together. With perfect fitness and a serve he finally had under control, Djokovic made his move. The fitness has allowed him to compile a 28-6 record in 5-set matches since 2011, coming back to win 17 times after falling behind 2-1. Meanwhile, after holding serve only 82% of the time in 2010, decent but not good enough for a top player, he surged to 86% in 2011 and went on to peak at 90% in 2015. 90%! That's almost John Isner level. He was still hitting 88% in 2021 and 89% in 2023 too. And in all 4 of those years, he won 3 slam titles and finished the year number 1 in the world. Watching his serve now, you would never know Djokovic once struggled. His toss remains about the same, but now he cocks his elbow in a Federer or Pete Sampras-like trophy position. His limbs are looser and more flexible. His serve is easy and consistent. It's a motion you would teach in an instruction book, and the results of his efforts are clear. But Djokovic didn't stop with fixing his mechanics either. He was an early adopter of analytics, hiring stats guru Craig O'Shaughnessy as part of his team to break down how his tendencies and strategic choices could improve. How do you enjoy about 4 different career peaks? By never assuming what you do is the best way something can be done. Perfect mechanics can make up for a lack of height and raw power. When Djokovic held serve 90% of the time in 2015, that ranked 5th on the ATP Tour, behind only 6'11" Ivo Karlovic, 6'10" John Isner, 6'5" Milos Raonic, and Federer may be the most accurate and effective server of all time. That year, despite being only 6'2", Djokovic held serve more than 6'8" Kevin Anderson, a 2-time Slam finalist, and more than 6'4" mega server Nick Kyrgios. If you've got the best return in the game and a top 5 serve, how exactly is someone supposed to beat you? You could ask a similar question of Ashley Barty. Despite a listed height of only 5'5", shorter than almost anyone near the top of women's tennis, Barty boasted maybe the most effective service game on the women's tour, at least for anyone not named Serena Williams. Barty held serve 80% of the time for her career, ramping up the ace percentage as she grew more experienced, while lowering the double fault rate. She never looked like she was trying for too much or extending beyond her capabilities, but that might have just been because her perfect technique made hard things look awfully easy. And when she needed to take risks with her first serve, her second serve was sound enough to protect her. Barty finished the 2019, 2020, and 2021 seasons ranked number 1 in the world. And in those seasons, she ranked 2nd, 3rd, and 1st, respectively, in hold percentage. Before she retired in 2022, she won the final 11 matches of her career. She held serve 94% of the time in that run. That's better than Isner, at 5'5". Barty went out on top, retiring with 3 Slam titles at age 25. Djokovic won 3 more Slams, his 22nd, 23rd, and 24th, in 2023, his age 37 season. Only Margaret Court has won as many Slam titles, and Court's total includes 11 Australian Opens against mostly Australian competition. Djokovic has won more career Slam matches than any man or woman in tennis history. He's won the singles title at 1/3 of the Slams he's played in. How did Djokovic surpass Nadal, Federer, and every other man who has ever played tennis? The answer lies in everything that went into his serve's evolution.